All right, thank you very much, Jason. And Jason mentioned all my background and experience I have in the slide here, but the last time the curriculum, phys ed or health curriculum did change, I actually was a zone facilitator to help do a similar thing that I'm doing this year. So in my portfolio, and we have 7 consortia in the province, we provide professional learning not only to teachers, but to EAs, librarians, parents, trustees, community partners. So those of you in the group that are parents or part of your parent councils, we help support them as well. So find out who your local consortia is. If you guys have a need for your parent council, either in your jurisdiction or your school, tap on our shoulders. We can help out with everything. So I'm gonna start off. With my background as a school administrator and a teacher, I always taught the health and phys ed. It was easy to timetable. That gave the teachers their prep time. So I've always been connected, and I've done an extensive review, and you'll see and go through this. But I believe that this new curriculum is significantly an upgrade from the current curriculum, and I'll identify a lot of reasons why. But I'm very pleased, in this world where wellness is going through COVID of a few years. It definitely helps support and work with our students in that wellness aspect. So this process started. The minister created what's called the ministerial order in August of 2020. And one of the pieces is, when I did the extensive review, I'm going, career exploration doesn't seem to be identified as much as one of the shifts. But what they've done, and this is good news for parents, in this ministerial order, and I've recreated this in a graphic because all of it is in paragraphs and it's not as pretty, but key skill number 11 says students will explore life opportunities that develop their unique talents and potential and provide a sense of purpose and belonging and affirm the dignity of work. So in the old curriculum, you'll see in the top right, there was a lot around recognizing and exploring volunteerism, lifelong learning, career opportunities. That hasn't changed, but what they've done in this curriculum is not just focused on health. So I've put just some pieces in the preamble matter for 3 other subject areas, and you'll see that it's not just health that focuses on careers. So there's an expectation that all subject area teachers are doing it as well. So it opens the eyes for opportunities and information about the world of work and skills, etc., throughout the curriculum. So I like that. It's a change, but I like the fact that it's there. What I'm telling school administrators and phys ed and wellness teachers moving into next year, you've already been doing this, keep doing it, but remember that there'll be other subject area teachers also doing it. Doing things applicable to their subject areas. So that's a positive. So if anyone has gone through the curriculum and sees it, well, it's not in there as much in the health, that's because it's not just health that's doing it. So that's one of the key pieces. They have an application, and I'll demonstrate it. If you type in New Learn Alberta in your browser and search, this is what it should look like. You'll notice that it has the subject areas and it has the current drafts in there just to confirm things. The K-3 math, the K-3 language arts, and the K-6 phys ed and wellness has been updated as of last Wednesday. So that is the finalized curriculum that will be implemented in the fall. The other subject areas are in their current draft form. The minister has indicated that sometime in May that the 4 to 6 LA, 4 to 6 math, and K-6 science and K-6 fine arts will be updated to a more formalized draft. Those subjects may be piloted next year, but it's not till September the following year that those subject areas will be implemented. So in my world with the consortia, with our professional learning, instead of a few months preparing our education stakeholders for new curriculum, we'll have a whole year in those subject areas, which makes our life a lot easier and in moving forward. You notice at the bottom, there's competency progressions, literacy progressions, and numeracy progressions. Those are linked to every subject area. When I do the demo of this site, I'll show you how they're attached. But if you look at this list of competencies, each of them, you'll go, well, those are easily integrated into phys ed and wellness. So as long as students are doing these competencies throughout all of the subject areas, then they're meeting the standards to do that. The TQS, there's three things. This is the teacher quality standards. There's a leadership quality standards for school administrators, and then there's a superintendent quality standards. Pillar number 5 focuses on the foundational knowledge for First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. That's embedded in the curriculum, and I'll show you how you can do in search. But just an example that is in the curriculum is a teacher may in phys ed want to do a First Nations game, and they're meeting that outcome. So just as an example, so that was promised in the curriculum. It's in there. The previous draft, it was in there, but the current version, until we switch over, didn't have that in there, but there was an expectations for teachers to do that. All right, I'm going to focus on grade 4 with the samples today. I have kindergarten. We may have, if we have time, I'll have a quick preview of that. They're all fairly similar. So just how it's written has slightly changed. So in the old curriculum in the health, it was identified with 3 major areas: wellness, relationship, and life learning choices. The new curriculum now starts off with an organizing idea, and there's 8 of them, a guiding question, a learning outcome, and then under the learning outcome, they've broken it into 3 pieces: knowledge, understanding, and skills and procedures. Same thing that's done in health, but the old health, or the phys ed, the old phys ed identified were activities, benefits, health, cooperation, communication, and do it daily for life. And before I forget, one of the questions that I have that may pop up, and I'm thinking in advance, what questions would parents ask? The curriculum does allow for daily physical education, DPA, of 30 minutes a day. So the question last Thursday was asked to the deputy minister, okay, in this curriculum, it doesn't say daily phys ed, but the guide to education, which school divisions and school administrators, when they do their timetabling and talking about minutes of instruction per subject area, it was clearly said that hasn't changed. So the same amount of time spent on health, the same amount of time on phys ed, and to assure that there's daily physical activity will continue unless that document changes. And we were told that document will not be changed. So if you had questions about that, I'm dispelling the rumor and giving you that information. So in the new curriculum, you'll see here's the key ideas. So under the phys ed, you'll see there's active living, movement, skill development, and I put safety in both sides because they've added a new element to safety in the wellness, but the safety in the phys ed hasn't changed. In the wellness side, they have character development, that hasn't changed. Healthy eating, that used to be called nutrition, that hasn't changed. They've added the safety piece, growth and development. For those of us that went to school many years ago, that used to be called human sexuality or the theme 5. That really hasn't changed. So kindergarten to grade 3, there really isn't anything to do with that other than body image. So you'll see that. And then in the 4 to 6, that hasn't changed. And again, knowing what parents will ask, there's nothing in the curriculum that talks about the parent waiver saying, I would like to opt my child out of that unit or area. That's, again, guide to education. That's still in play. There is nothing that has changed in a parent's eyes to say, you know what, I would like to do that part of the curriculum at home with my child and opt them out of doing that at school. And as a school principal, we know if a waiver comes in, we find other curricular activities for students to do excluded from those students in class doing that area. So I'm thinking ahead, I've answered that question. The new piece is financial literacy. So if you follow the news and Jason Kenney and Minister LaGrange, they've consistently said financial literacy is important with our students. Previously in the current curriculum, or what I'll call the old curriculum, there is nothing about financial literacy until you get to grade 11 and take COM 20, which is a required course to graduate. And that's the only time that it is taught in schools, in the curriculum. Financial literacy will now start in kindergarten. Now, we've already started working with school divisions in Zone 4, and CARC is basically south of Leduc, north of Airdrie. We have 8 school divisions, 3 band authorities, and private and charter schools. We're already doing this with administrators, teachers, central office, but it's been clearly identified that, you know what, even though this is in the wellness and phys ed curriculum, we are going to suggest having our math teachers do this outcome. So it fits there, but the communication that we're making is, you know, when you're doing your planning, there needs to be assurances that those outcomes are covered, whether it's the wellness teacher or the math teacher. As long as those outcomes are covered, it's okay to have a math teacher do the financial literacy aspect. And I'll show you some things in both the kindergarten and grade 4 curriculum, just so you can see where this is with regards to that. So just, and I'm going to go into a document here, but this is kind of a snapshot of where some changes are. So with the old, I went through kind of those pieces, but in the new growth and development, you'll see it's more extensive. So you look at the content of the curriculum, there's a lot more. It's broken down more. Bullying is brand new. I as a school administrator and teacher for many years, this has been probably one of the biggest tasks as a school administrator to deal with. This is now being taught in the curriculum. So this isn't just, you know, working with the teacher or the school counselor or, you know, dealing with something after the fact. This is actually embedded and taught in the curriculum from kindergarten all the way through to grade 6 right now, but I'm sure it will follow through. Healthy eating, that's hasn't changed, but again, it's more extensive. Resiliency is new. Relationships has been expanded, and you'll see that. Responsibility, you'll notice volunteer experiences and the career explorations is still there, and I've said new is the financial literacy. On the phys ed side, they emphasize fair play, leadership, and teamwork. In the new curriculum, they also emphasize participation, and strategy is new. And you'll see the term tactics. So for any of you parents that coach, you'll know and see in the curriculum, there's a lot more things like offense, defense, strategies, those types of things. As you move to the older grades, with the younger grades, it's still based on, actual fine motor skills, skill development. And they also identify teamwork and fair play. So that hasn't changed as well. There is a current document that the last update was in 2013, and it's called the Safety Guidelines for Physical Activity in Schools. This is where the phys ed teacher or any teacher goes to this document and says, I want to take my kids rock climbing. Well, you have to go to this document that identifies whether it's a low, medium, or high risk activity and what needs to take place. And in some cases, you have to have a qualified instructor, and here's all of the safety guidelines. So that hasn't changed. This resource, I'll call it, hasn't been added yet to the online curriculum resource area, but it will. So here again, the current version will be updated when it comes to resources. I'm just going to pop out of this, and I'm going to show you. This is the grade 4. So pardon me making you dizzy while I do this. So my team and myself have gone through and done some unpacking. So we've color coded things, and basically I've highlighted in yellow what some of the things are. But the first column is the old, and then the columns to the right, as I said, there's an organizing idea, and that's the colored tabs on the top. There's a guiding question. So for example, here in this one, this is called active living. It says, in what ways can a variety of physical activities contribute to active living? All right, so that's the question that's asked for this topic. There's a guiding question, and then the 3 pieces, and I put the learning outcome on the right. So students examine how choices in physical activities affect living. All right, so that's what has to be measured. So on a report card, that's measured, but the understanding, knowledge, and skills is the piece that helps determine, or the assessment piece. So you'll see here it's broken down into a much deeper piece than what's on the left in the old curriculum. So when I say it's more extensive, it's more extensive. I'll go down and I'll just, I said before about the coaching and the tactics. So highlighted in here in yellow is that. So old curriculum, it didn't talk about that, but the new curriculum clearly identifies strategies and tactics. And you look at the second column, talks about offense, defense, individual strategies and tactics. Under the knowledge, a little farther down, leader, follower, offender, defender, teammate, and opponent. So it's bringing up terminology that's used in daily life and a lot of sports and activities that wasn't there before. So most phys ed teachers would have done that anyhow. Now it's identified as part of the curriculum. Again, bear with me. I've highlighted here in blue, what was said previously around career development, life learning choices. And anytime I find something in blue, that means it's identified to the careers volunteerism. I'm just looking in the chat. So Karen said it's so refreshing to hear excitement in relation to the new curriculum. Yes, absolutely. One of the pieces that hasn't changed is the pedagogy. You know what, good teaching is good teaching. And even though this content is different, I don't think it's significantly different than the phys ed and wellness. They're joined together. But I honestly believe, having that background and expertise, I'm excited in this curricular area. And Kayla also agrees with that. So you know what, and this is my thing for you as parents. I'm here to, you know, show you what's different. No one's paying me to say that it's a good curriculum. I truly believe that this phys ed and wellness is definitely a much better curriculum. Safety here again, safety falls under both areas, but previously you would think, oh, safety has to do with an activity. So they've gone through, and in the wellness area, personal safety is huge. Talks about decision making, talks about resiliency, talks about respecting other people's feelings, saying no. So you'll see in this curriculum, it clearly identifies how students have rights in that they can say no and make decisions themselves, and an awareness of what's good and what's bad, starting right in kindergarten. And I'll show that piece in the curriculum. The nutrition, again, you'll see on the left, that's all that was there. You know, they used the Canada Food Guide and they talk about balanced diets, but now there's a deeper understanding when it comes to nutrition. You know, they talk about food labels, ingredients. Again, starting at an early age. Healthy relationships. This is, to me, another one that's been expanded. What is a healthy relationship? And I've highlighted these new pieces in yellow. Individuals have a right to live in a healthy, safe, and bully-free. All right. Remember I mentioned bullying? Boom, right there. They've identified bully-free environments. And that, not that this always happens, but sometimes parents who choose to homeschool or move to schools has to do with bullying that's taking place with their sons and daughters at home. So here again, it's clearly identifying what bullying is, what bullying behavior is, and you know what to do. So for example, here it says, when you're in a situation, here's some of the actions: speaking up, walking away, getting help, safety intervening, reporting the incidents. So it's okay to do that. So here again, another reason why I'm very supportive and happy with this new curriculum. First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. There are traditions, and they've designed the curriculum to keep those types of traditions. So if there's ceremonies, there's cultural beliefs, the curriculum allows for those to be embedded in the curriculum. And it's not just First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. There's identification to other cultural pieces. Human sexuality, just a preview. Again, grade 4, it starts, but it talks about, and you'll see in the left there, this is the old curriculum, describe physical. I'm not going to read it, but that one small paragraph. Now students are exposed to development. So when you think of that former human sexuality, it's talking about body image, self-confidence, emotions, relations, as you go into grade 5 and grade 6, it talks about puberty and why the changes are there. So it's clearly not designed to be I'm going to use the term human reproduction. It doesn't just focus on that. It talks about the other emotional pieces and social development that takes place as a child gets older. So again, another addition and change. They're talking about body image here. Talks a little bit about that puberty and an awareness. So again, it's done it in a manner which is understanding and very clear. All right. Here's that other cultural aspect. This cultural piece, it doesn't talk specifically about First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. It just talks about cultures. I highlighted here, and this is new, the supports. So students will understand who they can talk to. So very first one there is parents or caregivers, health professionals, counselors, spiritual leaders, and then knowledge keepers and elders. So it's not, teachers are not the only go-to. There are other people that can provide information around this. So again, it's very supportive. Just so parents in the group know, odds are very good that there's throughout the province, there's a local community health nurse who is available to go out to schools to provide the instruction. They're the certified health professional, so they can talk to students about this. Some teachers are not comfortable and access that resource to come to the schools and teach that. I was always a principal in a rural community, and when we couldn't get health nurses, because I had the comfort in the background, I would kind of fill that role for teachers that weren't comfortable. But here again, if you look at this curriculum, there's not a whole lot here about the uncomfortable piece around the reproduction. Down here at the bottom, in the middle, it says changes to hygiene practices. All right. So right away at an early age, grade 4, just on the stages of puberty where your body starts to change, hygiene practices are added into here. So, using deodorants, more frequent showering and bathing, and, changing your clothes regularly. I know, there are students who, these are my favorite clothes and I like to wear them every day, but we're supporting good hygiene practices in this curriculum. All right, I'm just going to show you now the financial literacy for grade 4, and then I'll flip over to the kindergarten just so you kind of have a quick view of that. So what is personal finance? So in grade 4, students will have an understanding what is used to purchase currency, other forms. All right, that's been updated. Like previously, there was no mention of credit cards, debit cards, e-transfers, those types of things. When it talks about credit cards, at an early age, talking about spending limits, repaying things, budgeting, price comparison. So here again, these pieces were not introduced until grade 11. So at a grade 4 level, students will have that deeper understanding of the real world around this. I know families do things at home, but at least it's in the curriculum as well. Talks about banking practices as well. What is a deposit and withdrawal? There are service fees. What is interest? There's online banking. So they're exposed to an understanding of what's taking place out there instead of, again, like I said, waiting until grade 11. And Yeah, financial literacy definitely is a well-needed addition to the curriculum. All right, I'm going to pop over to the phys ed and wellness, or sorry, the kindergarten. You'll notice in here that it's more skill-based, activity-based, not organized sport type of pieces at kindergarten. And again, that's been consistent from the old curriculum, just kind of a deeper understanding. In here, there's an emphasis on active living, so outside of school. All right, not just I'm going to phys ed class. The word fair play is there, and play, that's huge when it comes to kindergarten. Under the safety, again, it's not just a focus, but you'll see here, this is a nice kind of example here. It says permission, refusal. All right, what words can be used when it comes to that? Yes, no, may I, can I please, is it okay? So there's that communication piece around the safety at an early age. So that's good. Again, the nutrition they've added in here, it's not just going to the grocery stores. What are other ways to identify different sources of food? And they've added in, like fishing, hunting, farming, gardening, so, oh gee, it's not just Safeways or Sobeys where we get these things. Relationships, again, it's definitely expanded. What is a friendship? What is a healthy relationship? That wasn't identified before. When it comes to the growth and development, it's just identifying the growing process. So at a kindergarten level, it doesn't go deeper than that. It's focused on how your body grows and changes. Financial literacy at the kindergarten level, again, this is easily embedded. Teachers who, for example, do place values, identifying money and using Canadian currency manipulatives or kits in the classroom. What are forms of Canadian currency? Some teachers have done that in the past, some have not. The old curriculum didn't clearly identify the use of money when you're doing counting to 100 or multiples of 5 or decimal places in the form of currency. So here again, at an early age, students are exposed to this. And this is a crazy story. I had my daughter, we went on a trip and went up to the cashier, and the price was $5.10 for a couple of coffees and a couple muffins on our trip. And I gave the young person that was the cashier a 20 and 10 cents. And I said, they looked at me and I said, all you have to do is give me $15 back. And they kind of stood there, didn't know what to do, but that person gave me back 14 ones and 9 dimes. So a classic example of somebody who hadn't gone through that process throughout their schooling. So another good piece. Stephanie's asked, because they have put both health and phys ed together, will be given the same amount of or less. So as I mentioned earlier, the guide to education identifies the minutes of instruction. That will not change. So the guide to education itself identifies how many minutes of instruction for each of the subject areas. Each school administrator must report that for every teacher, for every grade to the government. and provide assurances that those are there. So when I talk to school administrators, some of them will treat this one course separately, right? There'll be a wellness aspect taking place in the classroom. There'll be a phys ed aspect that will take place in the gym. So even though they're combined as one course, they'll be treating it less. Nope, the allocation for the phys ed and the health currently won't change. So the curriculum's designed to keep, it's together, but you can identify them separate when it comes to the amount of phys ed time. And again, like I mentioned earlier, there's still that expectation of daily physical activity in the guide to education. Someone asked, will funding reflect for the new curriculum? I know there was an announcement of dollars available for resources and professional learning. Specific to new curriculum, so there is some funds being, and I don't know the aspects, those go directly to, but it's per pupil per teacher amounts for the transition. When it comes to regular funding, I believe hasn't changed from this year to next year. I don't know those specifics. That would be out of my wheelhouse. All right, let's go back to, I'm just going to show you the New Learn Alberta website, and then I'm going to get you to do a Jamboard activity. So when you come to New Learn Alberta, that brings you here. If you don't know, for those of you that have at-home learning, there's been a tutoring hub and a student hub to help provide some supports for that. But if I click on the K-12 education, so this is, or sorry, K-6, it's broken down by subject area, and I'm just gonna select the phys ed and wellness. And because we've been working with grade 3 and grade 4, I'm gonna click on grade 4, and I'm in public view right now. So what you see here, you have the exact same view. So one of the pieces, if I go to a learning outcome, and that again, that's the what needs to be reported for assessment. I click on this little eye. This helps a parent, this helps a teacher. So it has the guiding or the organizing idea. That organizing idea is the same for all grades, kindergarten to grade 6. The guiding questions and the outcomes are different. But if you look at the bottom, it lists the knowledge, understanding, and skills, but I can click on this resource button, and for this learning outcome, here's all of the resources that are currently in the site. Now, right now, there's only 266 total. I believe there's over 2,800 current resources, so this area will continue to be populated. Just so you know, there is no mandatory resource anymore. There's only approved resources, and teachers have the flexibility to make decisions on what resources get used. When it comes to the competency, literacy, numeracy, here again, competencies. We saw those earlier. So for this learning outcome, here's the competencies and the progressions for that outcome. So a teacher doesn't have to go, all right, which ones apply to this outcome? And the same with literacy and numeracy. So this application, we call it the New Learn Alberta, definitely it has been upgraded, and it's a much more refreshing resource than previously when you have a PDF that's sitting in front of you. I'm just going to do a quick go to the search. So for example, financial literacy. All right. Here it shows where it's in the phys ed and wellness, but you'll also notice that financial literacy falls in math, it falls in social studies. So it's cross-curricular. I'm going to type in, and I'm going to go back to just the phys ed and wellness. Search. It's not too many things open. Anyways, use that search button and go through and do a few different searches. First Nations, Métis and Inuit, safety, whatever. It'll tell you exactly where it is, what grades. Somebody put in here, our phys ed teacher already has a full schedule of PE instruction. I'm curious how they will be able to have the time in the timetable to teach the additional wellness component. So whoever taught the health previously may be doing that wellness component. So each school will have that flexibility. Again, what the mandate is with the curriculum is to make sure the outcomes are being taught. How it's being taught, there's some flexibility. Wellness and phys ed do not have to be taught together as one person, the same person. So someone could do the health component, someone could do the phys ed component, and as I mentioned, someone could do that financial literacy piece.